Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We are excited that you're here with us at Co-working Live with Red Worldwide, and I am Dr. Patience Jackson Rose, and we are here on another Focus Friday. We're going to be focusing on leadership just for another couple of weeks, and so today we're diving into influence, the untapped power of leadership, and we're going to talk about how influence works, okay? Both for good and not so good in some situations, so that we can know exactly how we can wield it and make it work, in ways that are powerful for our companies. Well, before we get started, I wanted to just thank everyone who's been watching. I mean, we are right at 75 episodes that are available in our repository on YouTube. So I wanted to let you know that we are so grateful for you who have been paying attention. We've gotten an opportunity to be available now in many different places. Some of those places are, getting us some attention from people who really do need our services. And maybe you don't, necessarily need us to help you with your lunch or, working on, making your company more valuable. Maybe you got that stuff under control, but we do have quite a few other things that we do here at Red Worldwide. And so we want you to visit our website and learn about, the tools that we have for businesses, especially the educational tools, the courses that we have, because some of them could be very beneficial in helping you to grow your company, to make sure that the company actually is worth what you desire it to be worth, or even more, and to, of course, get what you need to get in a sale, or in even if you're passing your company down to your children or to the next level of managers. Maybe you're not selling it, maybe you're going to chairman the board, but you want to have a valuable company. So we have a program called the Value Builder Engagement Program, and it's a very powerful tool to put into your business to help you understand how the business works and what's going on with it, and what you can do to institute the 8 drivers of business value to make sure that you get the 3x, the 5x, the 10x in a sale, but also to make sure the company is valuable. And so with that said, I want to go ahead and get us started in our scheduled session today on influence. And so we'll start with our video that we prepared, and to just kind of give you a little bit of context for how influence can work for you.
It's a word we hear tossed around in boardrooms, at networking events, and even in casual conversations about leadership. But what does it really mean? And more importantly, how does it shape the very fabric of business leadership? Today, we're discovering the powerful role influence plays in leadership, both the good and the bad. So, buckle up, because this isn't just another dry lecture on leadership theory. This is about understanding how influence can make or break a leader. Let's start with a historical lens. Picture this. It's the early 20th century, and we're in the midst of the Industrial Revolution. Leaders like Henry Ford weren't just running companies, they were changing the very nature of work. Ford's influence was revolutionary, not just because he introduced the assembly line, but because he understood how to inspire a workforce. He leveraged influence to create a culture that valued efficiency and innovation. His leadership wasn't just about authority, it was about inspiring loyalty and dedication. Workers didn't just build cars, they became part of a movement. This is the positive side of influence, when it empowers, motivates, and unites. But let's not romanticize it too much. Influence can be a double-edged sword. Fast forward a few decades, and we find ourselves in the corporate world of the 1980s. Enter leaders like Ken Lay of Enron. Here, influence took a darker turn. Lay was charismatic, persuasive, and had a vision that captivated many. But what happens when influence is wielded irresponsibly? Enron's culture became a breeding ground for unethical practices driven by a toxic influence that prioritized profit over integrity. This is the negative side of influence, when it manipulates, deceives, and ultimately destroys. It's a stark reminder that influence is not inherently good or bad. It's how it's used that determines its impact. So, what does this mean for today's leaders? In a world where social media amplifies voices and opinions, influence has become more accessible yet more complex. Leaders today must navigate a landscape where their influence can reach millions in an instant. Think about it. A tweet or a post can sway public opinion, impact stock prices, and even alter the course of a company's future. The power of influence is at our fingertips, but with that power comes responsibility. Leaders must be aware of how their words and actions resonate, not just within their organization, but beyond it. Now, let's get personal. Have you ever worked for a leader who inspired you? Someone whose influence motivated you to go above and beyond? On the flip side, have you ever encountered a leader whose influence felt suffocating or manipulative? These experiences shape our understanding of leadership and influence. They remind us that leadership is not just about making decisions. It's about how those decisions affect people. It's about creating an environment where influence fosters collaboration and trust, rather than fear and compliance. In today's episode, we'll explore these themes in depth. We'll hear from leaders who have harnessed the power of influence for good, as well as those who have learned hard lessons about its darker side. We'll discuss practical strategies for cultivating positive influence and how to recognize when influence is becoming toxic. So, whether you're a seasoned executive, an aspiring entrepreneur, or just someone interested in the dynamics of leadership, this conversation is for you. Influence is a powerful force, and understanding its nuances can transform not just your leadership style, but the culture of your organization. Join us as we unpack the complexities of influence in business leadership and discover how to wield this power responsibly and effectively. Let's dive in.
Okay, so where we are today is we're at this place because of the fact that one of those leaders that he was talking about in the video, who has had the opportunity to live long enough to mature in my leadership style. um, I'm present today, right? And I'm present today still in a leadership role. And so there are many people who have had the opportunity to use leadership and to position them um, effectively in their craft or in their industry. And then there are other people who have in their leadership become a thorn, in the side of their industry and have been ousted. And we've heard a little bit about the Enron situation, but we've known of so many others, where someone who did not handle their influence properly, and as a result of it, they led people down a wrong path, or they caused the company to become something that was not intended, or for that matter, they made the company a lot of money and still took advantage of the customers and clients in the process. We don't want any of those things. We really want to be able to say that the lessons that we've learned through our leadership journey have benefited the people who we now call our customers and clients, and those who are even our onlookers, our employees and vendors and contractors. So, we want that to be the case. And I'm going to share some personal stories today through this presentation about influence and what it is that we, should be looking to do as leaders, for those who are coming alongside of us and those who are following behind us. Will you roll our slides, please? Influence, the untapped power of leadership. And when I you know, look at the word influence, and I think about the fact that there is so much potential in that word. Yes, it could be used for horrifying things, but it also can be a powerful tool. And when used properly, it can inspire, it can motivate, and it can drive change in an organization. And so, as we are looking at the concept of influence, I really want to break it down and help you understand what it is. It's the ability to affect the thoughts, the feelings, and behaviors of others. It's about building trust, credibility, and relationships that enable you to lead and inspire. And so, going back to one of the things that was said in the video, there are times when influence can be used for good. And then there are times where that same influence can be used to reroute people into a place of where, very bad things happen. But we have to understand influence and the nature of it so that we can know how we best use it. So influence itself can shape decisions. It has an impact on people. It can change mindsets and it can create positive outcomes. I remember when my husband and I were beginning a ministry years ago, and the name of the ministry was Impact Ministries Worldwide. And I remember the whole concept of impact was not just to have an impact, because when you think about something that impacts something, or, even just think about it this way, if a stick of dynamite blew up, there would be an impact, okay, on all of those around, all of those, as well as the, constructs around it, but then there would be some things that were impressioned, not just impacted. And so when we were looking at the ministry, we wanted to, have an impact and leave an impression on everyone that we came in contact with. That was our whole goal, at that time in ministry. And in business, I think about how many times do we influence someone in a way that they never ever return back to who they were. It is really important that you are concerned about your impact and the impression that you leave beyond the impact, because it can be a situation where you have such a life changing effect on someone else, that they become everything that they were supposed to be in life because of that one encounter, that led them to other encounters that, puts them on the right trajectory. And then the other thing that you have to understand, that while influence is impact, it's as much connection as it is impact, because influence is rooted in genuine connections, understanding other people's perspectives and respecting those perspectives. And when you are able to understand them and regard them, then you have, a very wonderful tool that can be used for transformation. And so through influence, you can inspire others to grow and learn and achieve their full potential. And this is something that we should all be inspired to do, especially as leaders. So, what are the foundations of influence? Well, first of all, you got to understand that building a solid foundation for anything, helps to have the ability for other things to stand up on it. And so when you build a solid foundation for influence, it starts with your self-awareness, understanding your own values, your own strengths, and your own weaknesses. Because when you have that knowledge, then you have something to actually set other things on top of. And it begins in leadership, with understanding how to be authentic. Okay. People know when you're not genuine. They know when you are faking it. Okay. It is very apparent. Sometimes your face may not betray you, and so they may not be able to see it on your face. But there are other things that you emit that helps people to know that you're really just in this for the money, or you're really just in this for the fame, or whatever your reason is that has nothing whatsoever to do with purpose. Okay. But when you are intentional about authenticity and being true to yourself, being genuine, building trust and credibility through the consistent, actions that you have, people really do know. They have this sense They can feel it. They can, know that your embodiment of what you're doing, is coming across in everything that you do. I sometimes will be really excited to think about sometimes where we had when we were growing up. And I remember there were certain times where we had, these potluck dinners where people would bring different items to the church or, to the school or whatever. And I remember having the wonderful experience of someone tasting something that my mother made. She made a chili stack and we brought that to the school, and I mean people just ate it up. There were other items on the table, but that whole pan of chili stack went so fast. It was amazing. And one of the ladies, I remember her talking about how, ooh, whoever made this was cooking with love. And so there are times when you do things and people really do feel, the love or the care that is going into what you're doing. And you got to be thinking about that when you are, preparing to do it, to be authentic in everything that you're doing and to allow your feelings to come through, really does position you in your company differently than someone who is just going through the motions. And you got to have effective communication skills as well, verbally and non-verbally. You have to be able to communicate with others, what it is that you are saying so that you can have a genuine connection. Those things are very important. You lead with empathy and having the ability to understand and respond to the needs and the emotions of others who are in your team or on your team. This is key to build rapport and also to have that positive influence that you want to have as a leader. So how do you develop your influence toolkit? What is it that you need to put in the toolkit to make sure you got everything that you need so that you have the influence that you want to have on those with whom you work? Well, the first thing that you have to do is you have to hone your skills and acquire strategies, for interaction. And these skills here are the top four they may not be the only ones, but they're the top four, the ones that we're going to talk about today. Active listening, which we've talked about before, being attentive to people who are listening or who are speaking to you, seeking to understand what it is that they're saying and responding thoughtfully, really, thinking about what they've said and coming with a response that makes, perfect sense to you about what it is that they're saying. It may not make perfect sense to everyone else because we know that common sense is not common, but it needs to be something that adds value, and it's something that is a part of, a robust set of things that a person could add to what they're doing so that they are better for your interaction with them. Then there needs to be persuasion involved because, when you communicate your ideas clearly and convincingly, using logic and empathy, people usually buy in, or at least they know what they don't want. Okay. If they don't buy in, it's because they just didn't want that. But the bottom line is that the goal here is to be persuasive in your speech, to get people to understand what it is that you are wanting to do, and use the right set of tools in your communications toolbox to help them know why they should do what it is that you are wanting them to do. And then, of course, in collaboration, you got to be working together, leveraging diverse perspectives and building consensus, with the team, because the bottom line is that you can't do everything by yourself. And the whole goal is to build out, a team that can help you accomplish your goals and bring things to market in a way that you are able to maintain your share of the market. And then you want to have mentorship. You got to be able to train people, to do what it is that you want them to do in a way where they feel like you are really on their side. You want to be able to share your knowledge and your experience and guiding them, to their place of their next, whether that's their next level of leadership or whether it's just their next, project in the company. And you got to be able to support everyone, at the same time, because developing out these tools in the influence toolkit, gives you a starting point. But you have to grow as a leader while you're helping other people grow as well, so that you can cover all bases, in the best way that you can. All right. So leveraging influence for positive impact. Okay. I mean, we talked a little bit in the video about negative, impact, but right now we want to look at how, you can leverage your influence for positive impact. So, positive influence really is about using your skills to make a difference, using your powers for good. Okay. This is really what it is that you should be doing, with your influence and helping people to have changed minds, changed hearts, and changed, you know, um, attitudes. Because when they see that you are in this because of the fact that you want to build something powerful and positive, that you're not trying to lead people down a dark road to nothing, then people usually are willing to get on board. So when we want to leverage our influence for positive impact, one of the first things we want to do is problem solve. I mean, engage in collaborative problem solving to find a solution that benefits everyone. Talk to them about all of the options, but then help them to see where, you are coming from and what it is that you would like to do so that everyone wins. That is going to be key, because even though we're working at this collaboratively, we're all working together to, work through this particular problem solving exercise that we're doing in our company. Sometimes people feel like they're the odd man out. So you have got to find a way to unify the collaborative, the group, and help them to solve problems, in a way that everyone, like I said before, wins. Okay. And then you want to also be able to have an attitude of empowerment. You want to foster autonomy and growth by giving others the tools and the confidence to succeed. That they need you to empower them, to give them permission to do their best and to be who they are. It's not enough to just delegate authority, but they have to feel empowered, because if they don't, then they won't lead effectively. They will, their influence will not be as powerful as it could be. And then you got to also remember that, you can encourage your people to be creative and to, innovate. This is really important. When people feel locked in and blocked in, that they don't have an option with regards to adding value, to the company themselves, then they don't do as much as they would do if they felt like they had the ability to do something that would have a lasting effect on the company. So you want to encourage creativity and risk taking, fostering a culture of learning and adaptation, because when you help people to learn that you do value, people bringing ideas, and even if their idea is not used right away, or even at all, letting them know that you appreciated the work that went into them preparing what it was that was prepared, and that at some point, maybe they'll have a chance to use that in their future, maybe even if it's not with your company. Okay, so how do we navigate some ethical dilemmas? This is a really important part. You see, on my little my graphic here, my gentleman stands at the crossroads of ethics and ethos. Okay, actually, it's not even a crossroads. One is going one direction, and the other one is the complete opposite. And that's how some of us are experiencing life. It's our choices are just that broad, where either we're going to make the right choice, the ethical choice. Okay. When I'm saying right, I mean ethical, or we're going to go with our ethos, what it is that we feel. And sometimes what we feel, it may not be the right thing to do. So you have to be able to understand that ethical considerations are crucial when you're wielding your influence. I mean, you have to ensure that your actions are aligned with your values. And if your actions are aligned with your values and it was not the right action, maybe you need an upgrade in the value system. Okay. Because this is really important and key to a key aspect of who you are becoming as a leader. People need to know that you stand for something. I remember hearing this when I was younger, that if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And I tend to agree with that concept. You have got to be in a position where you are standing on your beliefs and your tenets, your faith even. You have to make sure that people can see it. You got to be transparent, open, and honest about your motivations and your intentions. And when people see that you are there because you care, it changes how they seek out your assistance. And for that matter, whether or not they come back. Okay, you have to be able to operate and lead with respect, treat others with respect, valuing their perspectives and autonomy. It's important for you to respect the space and the delegated authority that others have been given. Maybe you're at the corner of where you are, and it might, be just leaning a little bit on the other side of where someone else is supposed to be. You have got to be able to move out of the way and allow them to do what it is that they were purposed to do in the company. And so these are very, very important and key things. And then lastly, you got to have integrity. You got to act in accordance with your values, even when it's difficult. We talked about this yesterday, doing the right thing when nobody's present. Okay. And there doesn't seem to be a camera in the corner to record what you're doing. It's important for you to have that as a part of your character, that no matter what is going on around you, you are being right, you are doing right, you have righteous behavior, because when you lead that way, others follow that way. And so this is a very important aspect of leaders' lives. Now, what are some of the pitfalls that we need to avoid? These are influence pitfalls. Okay, how do we avoid these? And you see our guy in here in the image. He's kind of traversing in this mountain, and there are, looks like fires to put out everywhere. Okay, and then you got, other things that are seeming to be a problem. And so a lot of times that is the case for many of us. Influence is really a powerful tool, but if it's misused or not carefully navigated, it could be, the key thing to cause others to have challenges, just because they followed what you said. So avoiding some of the common pitfalls is key to maintaining the trust that you have garnered from others in your organization, and effectiveness. So let's look at some of these things. Manipulation. I have seen this as one of the number one reasons that people end up in bad relationships in business, because one person sought to manipulate another person by not either giving them all the information that they might need, to have the ability to make a good decision, or for that matter, just flat out, they gave them the wrong information that was false, or sometimes they coerced them into doing things. Coercion is on this list. There are other times when people, were overpowering. They had a set of skills that caused them to be very persuasive, and in using them, they've overpowered others and used or misused or even abused their influence. Deception, that is a horrible thing. And I've seen it happen. And recently I talked to someone who was in a company where something was represented that it was supposed to be a certain way. And it turned out not only was it not that way, but it was purposefully explained the way that they understood it to keep people from doing something good. And that's a horrible thing, especially if you see someone trying to tank someone else's company to keep the company from selling, and so these types of deceptive practices, I mean, they happen all the time. And it's up to you to make sure that when you are planning out your life as a leader, that you are completely clear of these influence pitfalls. Another one is self-promotion. There are some people that are so ambitious and they just want to be at the top, and no matter how they got there. And so this is something that we need to be aware of. And if it's a part of your personality, you need to squash that, because self-promotion, will get you nowhere. I mean, well, let's just put it this way. You might get there, but you definitely won't be able to stay. And so continuing in your mind, with what it is that you want, I mean, you have got to make room and space in there for the fact that promotion, comes from on high. And when you do the right thing, excellence is attractive and you will get there. You just may not get there at the moment that you intended. And then, of course, having a lack of empathy, that also is another pitfall that you want to avoid as a leader, because your influence is important and you want to make sure that in whatever you do, you're doing the right thing, to care about people, to be concerned about people, to be concerned about your customers and clients. I never forget, I was in a situation where we were looking for some essential oils, and we went into one of the drugstores, the pharmacies, because they carried the particular brand of essential oils that we were going to look for. And we get in there only to find that those oils were not there. And they were not only were they not there, they were like taken off the shelf. We found out later that there was an incident that occurred where there were the tops on the bottles were not the right tops, and they were not, it seems as though the quality control was not what it needed to be, and people could be very well harmed because of the fact that the way things were leaking out of the bottles were not in a way that was appropriate, and people could end up with less product, but they also could have ended up, in a situation where too much of that oil could have seeped through and their clothes could have been harmed, or, some other, even physically, they could have been harmed from it. And so I remember I think it was Walgreens that pulled their product off the shelf, and then there was an article about it, and what followed, of course, was that they fixed the problem, and ultimately their products are years later back on the shelf. But I want you to understand that there are times when people make decisions, for greed or for other reasons. And even though they know better, they will release something too soon or allow it to be in a position where people get access to it, and they could be harmed. And the company is more concerned about their ultimate bottom line than they are about the few people that might be harm. They call it that collateral damage. So I am saying to you, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, executive, whatever level of leadership you're in, when you come to this video, please be aware that if you are expecting to have your influence taken seriously and to actually use it as a tool that it is, these common pitfalls are things that you absolutely want to completely remove out of your character and out of your business. So how do we put all this together? How do we master influence as a leader? Well, the first thing that you need to understand that it's an ongoing journey. You don't arrive ever. You are always ever arriving, okay? Meaning that you're always on the path. And it's going to require self-reflection, continual learning, and a commitment to positive impact. You have to be committed to a growth mindset, embracing learning and development, and constantly seeking to improve your own skills. Because again, you're a leader, people are following you. And so you want to make sure that your mindset is one that is a mindset that others aspire to. And when you have that, and you're wearing it, and I do mean like you put it on like a jacket or a coat, people can see, oh, they're all about growth. Everything that they do is leading us in that direction. I want to be like them. And they can make that choice and follow your lead on things that are sometimes very complex and difficult, but they'll do it anyway because you are giving them everything that they need to show them that this is something that they need to do. Okay. And then building genuine connections, strong relationships within your company, that are based on trust, empathy, and shared values. That's going to be one of the key things to help you master influence. When you have the thought process that you do want to live for the benefit of others, but understanding that others are involved in that. So that means you got to communicate. You need to be connecting with people. I talk about me, and I can talk about me because I'm not going to get myself in trouble. But I can say this. I have often had challenges with people. My mother sent me at one point away when I was younger to go on a vacation because she told me I love books more than people. And it was probably true at the time. I don't know. I don't even want to try to make an excuse for it. I'll just say that as a child and then as a teenager and even an early adult, I had some tremendous challenges with relational things. I could relate better to computers and, things. And so I had to learn how to relate to people and how to build strong relationships. And even now, I don't, make any excuses for it. I always tell people, hey, I'm still working on this part, because sometimes I get so busy, I'll forget to make a phone call to this person on their birthday, or, I'll, speed right on through, some very special event, that was really an important event. Not that I was trying to be apathetic or anything like that. I just really needed the time, I thought, to do other things in the business. And so I am learning that it's important to build relationships, because you cannot do anything in relationship with a person if you didn't take the time to build the relationship. So I want to share that with you. And again, I'm being very vulnerable here, but I want to share it with you because I think it's important for us to know that as a leader, you never arrive. You're always working on something, and it's up to you to see the thing and work that thing so that you can become better. And then you have to have a clear purpose, clear vision. People need to understand what that vision is, and so they can align with your vision. But you have to align your actions and your values and your goals. They have to be in a position where they sync up. Because if you don't do that, what happens is people will see that you're not doing it, and you'll be called a hypocrite. People they'll call you out on that. I have that on good authority, okay? That if for whatever reason you have a purpose and you're moving in a certain direction, but your actions and your values don't match, it will be something that people will actually call you out on. And so I want you to understand there are some people that don't intend to celebrate you for anything. And so they definitely will make it so that other people are aware when you make a misstep. So make sure that you have a clear purpose, and then you line that purpose up with, the actions, the actionable steps that you're making, and that your values and your goals sync up to that so that you can be seen again, and modeled, behind, or I should say followed. Okay. The model that you're setting is something that people will follow. And then lastly on this, I want you to really be thinking about the fact that you're here to inspire others. Your motivations and your inspirations personally, professionally, spiritually, emotionally, those are yours that you are operating off of. But your job with all of that is to motivate and inspire others to achieve their potential. And so a lot of us are so self-centered, and some of us even narcissistic. Everything, revolves around us. But when you think this thing through and understand what influence is about, influence is not influence if there's no one for you to influence. So you got to be thinking about the fact that the whole purpose of it is to make, create positive change for others, okay, to help people achieve their goals and their potential. Well, with that said, this has been an awesome opportunity for us to share today on influence, and I hope that it has benefited you. And if it has, I want you just to put something in the comments to let us know that this, did resonate with you. And as you're thinking about everything that you have to do to become an effective leader, I want you to think very powerfully about the fact that your leadership skills are so important that you have to take the time to cultivate them. I mean, really work them through and do exactly what it is that you need to do intentionally so that everything will begin to flow for you and your team and your company. Well, this has been Dr. Patience Jackson Rose here with you on Co-working Live with Red Worldwide, and we'll see you again next time.